So the why and the how. So the how kind of came before the why, interestingly. I started out and I did a party, a snow club party, and I started to fall in love with the idea of capturing humans with the camera and capturing just like raw emotion and expression. I found that Isla Vista specifically was a really good location because there's such a diversity of interests, be it clubs, student organizations, parties, just people walking around with cool outfits, the architecture around here. It was just a really interesting subject for me. So it was sort of a process of discovering my own personal style and having a project that I could lean into and share with others in a process. And then that really became my why. The why started to become sort of this community element, and the fact that I could share an aspect of myself through my photos with people, but also just share the community with others through photography. And that started to really drive me into investigating more so how I could capture humanity and capture Isla Vista in a sort of celebratory way, I guess. So pretty much always starts with shooting. Well, I guess it could start all the way up to planning. So typically, these days I'm doing a little bit less scouting. It's more so someone will either reach out to me or I'll have a gig and I'll plan out what gear to bring. So like, for example, if I'm going out and just doing like a fits post, then I'll bring like a 70 to 200 lens. If I'm going to a party, I'll bring a nice wide angle lens. So I start off with the planning, getting all my gear set, and then I'll go to the gig, do the shooting aspect of it, which basically just involves following whatever moment or expression kind of meets my eye. So it's sort of just like an exploration almost when I'm shooting. And then after that, there's the post process, which involves editing through photos. So often for a shoot, just like on any given day, like today, I took photos and I probably have around 700 to 800 photos for today. Sometimes if I'm out for longer, I'll have like 1,000 to 1,200 photos and I just cull through them. So I'll look through, I'll kind of pick out the ones that I like the most, and then I'll kind of go through like a filtration process of finding the coolest moments or the coolest outfits, and then I'll compose a post. So out of the 10 that I like the most, I'll do some editing, some color enhancement, that kind of stuff on the photos, just to make them look prettier, write a caption, and then drop the post. I definitely have a lot of advice to give, seeing as I actually just recently have started pursuing photography a couple years ago. I'd say, just to list a few things, first of all, get to know your camera inside and out. So I'd say one of the most frustrating things for me starting out was having a shot in my head and seeing something and not being able to produce it with my gear that I had on hand. So definitely getting to know the ins and outs of shooting manual, shooting all different modes on your camera, just to be able to be versatile with that. Secondly, I'd say explore a wide range of photography, especially if you're first getting into it. Do stuff like nature photography, landscape photography, portrait photography, street photography, event photography. Do all sorts of different stuff, because for me, like, it wasn't until I got into photojournalism that I really started to feel like things made sense with the camera. So once you find your preferred subject, I feel like things start making a lot more sense. At least in my experience, things started making a lot more sense. Another thing I'd say is finding a consistent workflow and being organized is really important as a beginning photographer, because as you continue to take photos, you'll start to take more and more, and then looking back on your old work is going to be really hard. So just staying organized in the beginning is really good. But to give, like, I guess, more philosophical advice, I'd say stay curious and stay artistic with your stuff, because I feel like it's really easy to kind of just like fall into a trap with photography of kind of doing it for work or doing it for a particular purpose. But if you find something that you want to capture, the camera is such a unique way to channel your voice. So I'd say just staying curious and staying explorative is really important, because it'll lead you wherever you go. You know what I mean? If you have that creative instinct. I mean, I could say a bunch more stuff, but I think that's some pretty good advice to get started.